Form SSA 795, Statement of Claimant or Other Person. So this form is probably not something that you will see very often by itself unless you're submitting a request for something like Social Security, retirement benefits. If you're applying for disability benefits, then you may be requested to support previously submitted information with your own statement. You can also use a statement if you're looking to inform on someone that you know to be committing fraudulent claims. You may use this statement in a variety of ways. One of the most common ways that this form gets used is when you make a statement to someone at the Social Security office and they take notes about your conversation. And then simply they're going to ask you to evaluate the statement that they wrote down on your behalf and then sign it. Signing this does a couple of things. One, it affirms this as representing true and accurate information, subject to penalties of perjury. But it also helps the Social Security Administration make a decision, perhaps, or evaluate additional information when making a decision about any number of benefits or possibilities. So we'll go through this form. We'll talk a little bit about the procedure manual and what that says, and then we'll wrap up this discussion. So this is a two-page form. On the front, you can see that we completed this. In this situation, James Doe is actually making a statement about his brother John Doe, who is the SSA claimant in this situation. So we put John Doe's Social Security number here, and then we put that James Doe is John's brother. Now, if you are making a statement to support your own information, you don't need to complete these two lines. In the vast majority of cases, you'll probably find that the Social Security representative completed the form exactly the way it needs to be, and then the only thing you need to do is evaluate the statement. That can be anything in this blank field. Make sure that it's accurate, make any corrections, and then sign on the back. So on the back, we have the date, we have the telephone number, and then we have contact information, the mailing address, city, state, and zip code. So as long as you sign with your legal name, then you don't need to have witnesses sign this form. But this is on virtually every Social Security form I've ever seen. The Social Security Administration still legally accepts sworn statements that have been signed by a mark or X. So in this situation, if someone signs with an X, then this signature, witness signature field needs to be completed by two witnesses that both personally know the individual signing the statement and are both willing to complete the address form and give their full addresses. So as long as there are two witnesses that personally know the individual signing as an X, then that would be a legal signature. And then the rest of the back of the form contains the Privacy Act information and Paperwork Reduction Act statement. The SSA estimates it should take about 15 minutes to read the instructions, gather facts, and answer questions. Obviously, your mileage may vary depending on the complexity of whatever situation this form is being submitted for. The last thing I would like to point out is that the Privacy Act statement basically says that the Social Security Administration can use your information, share it with contractors that manage their programs or other federal agencies. For example, there's a very close coordination with Social Security Administration and the IRS. being able to exchange your tax information so that you can update your earnings history for Social Security purposes, there's already a very natural relationship there. So this is just disclosed in the Privacy Act. Probably the more important thing is if you're sending this statement uh, because of something that has to do with collection. So this could be an overpayment. This could be, you know, improperly paid Medicare Part B premiums, for example. Uh, this information can also be shared with debt collectors. So you don't have to submit anything that you don't want to. Of course, you also don't have to receive benefits. So if you're applying and they're saying that we cannot accept your application without this additional information, you should understand that. But you should also understand that you can be punished for making false statements. And if you don't make a statement at all and you have been overpaid, then the Social Security Administration maintains the right to send your information to a private debt collector to recapture some of this money. So in researching this video, I did take a look at this. This is the Program Operations Manual System, known as the POMS. This basically is kind of the guidebook for the Social Security Administration. So some of the things that they will be looking for when they evaluate your statement are, you know, is the statement consistent with the information they already have? Is the statement clear and precise? Does it ramble on and on? Does it address certain points that need to be addressed? Does someone, does the person who is making the statement have a personal stake in the outcome? If if someone is reporting on a third person, what benefit would they possibly have in reporting that person? Is there any kind of bias either for or against the claimant if someone else is submitting this form that is not the claimant? Does the statement deny knowledge of a fact that the person should have clearly known? In other words, are they kind of dancing around a point where it's pretty obvious in the evaluation that they should have firsthand knowledge of that particular point or question? Does the statement have parts of it that the Social Security Administration can then independently corroborate with other information? Maybe by looking at earnings history, maybe by talking to a different person. Is the statement one where it's got information that is either self-serving or is against the statement maker's own best interests? Is there firsthand information as opposed to opinions, references? So all of these kind of criteria really should help inform the way you complete this statement, especially if your statement actually consists of a phone conversation or a personal conversation you had with a Social Security employee and they wrote down what they think you said. So you would, before you sign that, you would want to make sure that that clearly is in line with your intention. So this POMS also kind of touches on some possible uses of the SSA, like 795. So if there are statements about divorce and termination of a prior marriage, if there's a conflict in evidence that was provided for Social Security benefits, if there's a statement about adoption, wage discrepancies, so on and so forth. So and then finally, the last possible thing is that they kind of tell people in the administration how to go if they get a signed statement versus if they don't get a signed statement. And the other thing that's worth noting in this is that the Social Security Administration tries to protect confidentiality to the extent that it can. but it also makes a very clear statement that your information may not remain confidential, and it is the Social Security Administration employee. It is the expectation that that employee tells you up front that they cannot guarantee, like if James Doe is reporting on his brother John because he's committing whatever Medicare fraud, then his information might get back to John Doe, and the Social Security Administration has no responsibility or even requirement to try and protect that confidentiality. So take that for what it's worth, and make sure you understand the stakes when you are submitting this signed document. So, and then the final note is that this obviously is not legal. This is not eligible for electronic signatures. It says on the form itself, write in ink. So most likely what you would do is you would complete this form either at the local Social Security office, or you would sign it and bring it to your Social Security office. There's no provision, at least that I've seen in the form instructions, to mail or fax a completed Form 7, SSA 795. So that's all we have for this video. If you want more information about this form, we kind of go into we go into a little bit more depth in our article about some of the things that we covered in this video. You can find that article on our website. You'll see the link in the show notes, or you can simply go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in Form SSA 795, and you should see our article appear. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section. As always, thank you very much and have a great day.